go live.
Yeah, I shaved. I hadn't shaved in like 2 weeks. Hey, we're live.
We as lives.
Okay, so we'll address a few things. One is I don't know whether or not I'm gonna have a video Monday because of drivers or something going on with Premiere Pro. So
Well, you got a whole weekend to figure it out.
Well, this is also one of the reasons I want to get the Mac, because you don't have to worry about drivers with the Mac, and you can just use their suite of video editing software. What an option. So
Final Front Pro.
Well, you know what? It does work, so I'm not going to be too worried once I get it. But I still haven't bought the Mac Mini, because along with the Mac Mini, I've got to buy a monitor, a Rodecaster Pro, because, yes, it just barely won out. The yes, I should buy it just barely won out. And I got to get a keyboard, mouse, all that stuff. So it's going to be a little while until I actually get the Mac up and running, and I need a video Monday, so I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see, I guess. Other than that, it's an audio driver. I'm almost positive of it. Maybe I'll just unplug everything from my computer, refresh everything, and come back at it.
Plug one thing in at a time and
like
see.
Blast Windows, everything. Like, just blast everything. Well,
That'll be a long weekend project.
I've done it before because I don't get my C drive is just, it's not even programs.
Oh, we're live now. Did you know that?
Oh, did we go live? Are we live now?
Uh-oh. Yep, we just went. Yeah.
So, by the way, I started a document. Have you seen said document for talking points for the week?
I did. I took a little glance at it yesterday. I don't know if you added anything to it since then.
No, not really. Well, yes,
let's talk about this graphic designer story. I'm kind of interested in this. I'm kind of
okay. Well, actually, to get into that, I think I should also point out I'm trying to get my a logo done so I can. My wife, I was talking to her a couple days ago, and she said, because I was talking about how I've got a few T-shirts just laying on the ground in the studio, and I keep forgetting about them. And it's because when I'm shooting, if I'm shooting more than one video, I don't want to do two videos in the same shirt. It looks it doesn't look good. So
yeah,
I'll like keep a second shirt, but then I'll throw the one on the ground and I'll forget it's there. And she's like, well, why aren't you shooting with the Dark Corner Studios logo shirt? Like, get a shirt done. What are you doing?
Well, get a bunch done and actually, like sell merch.
Well, but first I want to wear the shirt just for videos, just so it makes it look professional. But you can't do that unless you have a vector image, an image that's done by somebody that knows how to do logos and stuff like that, and they know how to save them. It's not a JPEG printed on a shirt. It's something you need a vector image for it to look really sharp.
Can totally print a JPEG on a shirt. However, it generally tends to work better if you have like one of those, what are they, SVP files or whatever?
Well, it's a vector image. Yeah, that's SVP. Yeah. That's apparently what I'm learning as I go in regards to this.
That we do in Adobe Illustrator.
Yeah, basically. And what my daughter did for me is great, but it's not a vector image, and it's not going to be very sharp on a shirt. So I have to kind of reboot all this. Somebody asked about your mic. Ken, we'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to that.
So I'm like, okay, so I've got to go source out somebody to actually do a logo up for Dark Corner Studios, which is fine, but I've got to pay some coin, which also fine. And so I just put it on Twitter. I was like, I've got a Twitter account, which, by the way, guys, if you want to follow my Twitter, it's Dark Corner YT. That's it, Dark Corner YT. So I put up this request on Twitter, which I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter because I haven't been working my Twitter. And I just said, looking for a graphic artist, looking for an illustrator, somebody to do a logo. And it went absolutely nuts. Like, I'm talking about 300 messages and comments and everything in about 2 minutes.
Nice.
Like, I feel as though I was so overwhelmed by it that I feel like kind of, the experience some women complain about on social media where people just don't leave them alone. Everything just blows up on them. And they're like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. I've got so many comments in my DMs, everything. It was ridiculous. Like, people were spamming me, dude. There was one person that sent me probably 50 pictures of all of their artwork. And it was just I ended up having to like close down the DMs for it. It was incredible.
Seems like a lot of graphic designers are not very good business people.
But and you know what? Also, the worst part about it is, so to get a good logo done, you're gonna pay about $100 an hour for logo design. That's actually not industry standard. It's actually still a little bit lower, but because a lot of graphic artists are running low on work, you're probably only going to pay about $100 an hour, and 2 to 3 hours for a simple logo.
Yeah, which is actually not that bad considering the amount that you like, the amount of sort of like, you know, whatever they want to say, the amount of stuff that you can use a logo on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the amount of time that you can use it. If it's a good logo,
like
you'll be
a shirt.
For years.
If I sold shirts, and I could probably make that money back in a couple weeks. Or I want to do desk mouse pads, like large mouse pads or desk pads. That would be great for, just got the logo on there, maybe some wave style stuff on there. Really cool. Anyways, they were charging, all of these Twitter people were like, you know what, $60. I'll do a logo up for you. Now, as soon as you tell somebody that, and this is a message for everybody, as soon as you value your art at $60, as soon as you tell me your time is worth so little, and I'm going to expect you to work your butt off if you're doing a logo for me. I don't want crap. As soon as you tell me you're worth $60, I instantly refuse to work with you, because that's trash.
You're gonna get what you're gonna get out of that is a $60 logo.
And even if you're one of the diamonds in the rough that maybe, I don't know, but can do an incredible image, it gives me zero confidence in your quality. Like zero confidence in your quality when I'm willing to pay $800. I mean, for a decent logo. Why would I go with somebody that's offering it for $60 when I know it's just going to waste my time? And every single message was between $60 and $100. Like, don't do that to yourself. Do not make yourself sound cheap. Cheap doesn't sell, especially for people that are professionals and that are looking for a good product. Good products don't cost $60 ever.
No, and also it's clear. And this is, I guess a conscientious problem with creative people, or a conscientiousness problem with creative people, is like a lot of creative people don't really know how to interact online with other businesses. I've gotten this before where people will just, want me to, like on Instagram, like we've never talked. You're cold calling me here.
Oh, your audio just went weird, dude.
What do you mean weird?
Distorted. Listen to it on the hit up the live stream and hear it. It's
then you're gonna hear it.
No, it's just on your phone. Just pick it up on your phone. Yeah, you just went really, really weird. Yeah, it is true. While you source that. Yeah, can you hear the audio? Yeah, there's something in your chain. When you contact another company that's going to be Cylon, no, he's not on a Mac. He's dead set against Macs. No audio coming through, brother. If you contact a company as a business or a creative and you're looking to do something for them, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself kind of as part of the pack rather than below the pack. Most companies will not even look at you sideways if you are if you show as the cheap model. No one wants the cheap model. They want the good model. So what was the problem there, Dylan?
It's a shit cable.
Oh, cable problems.
It's an insert cable that I'm gonna like. So I have two Y cables that one of which I have gotten fed up with and replaced the connector with a not shitty HOSA connector. Apologies, HOSA, but your connectors are garbage. Yeah. And with a proper like metal connector, and the other one now is being a pain, so I'm gonna have to get a soldering iron out and deal with that this weekend.
So, basically, all in all, I ended up on this search for a logo that backfired. I've contacted a few professionals that actually, like the one guy designed a couple albums for a friend of mine out west, Andy Northrup. And so they decided to, he's like, yeah, I'll meet with you on Saturday. I'd charge $100 an hour for a buddy. So it looks like I'm going to spend $400 to $500 on this. And then that might work into me being able to develop my own shirts, which is kind of fun.
And other merch.
Well, I'm not starting merch yet. Just in case anyone thinks that I'm like just trying to like launch a merch store, I'm not. I want to have a shirt that represents Dark Corner Studios when I'm presenting Dark Corner Studios, when I'm shooting a video, rather than just random shirt of the day, which also I end up having to go look, what shirt did I wear when I shot last week? Because it's happened where I've showed up to do a video and I've got the same shirt on that I had on last week because it's just a cycle.
You should have a content calendar, but just for shirts that you wear for the content. Like literally just blue, white, wife beater.
Yeah. Well, it's the worst part because some of the shirts actually evoke conversation. Like the one I had on last week was, it was the shirt that basically says, eat vegans, because they're grass fed. It's nice. It's a shirt I got from Lucky Jeans. It's a fun one. We have some people coming in on the cables here. Bangs says Hosa Pro line. I like the ring connectors for cheap, and Hosa edges too much. If I'm spending that much, I have different brands. Yeah. Then Diane Bolton says Pig Hog cables aren't cheap, but they last and are solid.
I'm one
I've
of those
never
guys,
heard of Pig Hog.
I'm at the point I'm using these 2 insert cables because they're unbalanced, and I don't have bulk unbalanced cable lying around. But I do have bulk balance cable lying around, which has decent insulation on it. So, and I've got already like 200 TRS connectors in the bag. So I'm literally just going to cut the end off that and do it proper. But
Ken says, I'd be down for DC Studios shirt. Oh, wait, wrong DC. You know what? And I've actually run into that with DC, like branding, DC Comics, DC Studios. Technically, they don't have a DC Studios. Like Marvel is kind of Marvel Studios, but not really. DC doesn't really do that. So I'm hoping there's not going to be any overlap. That would be awkward, wouldn't it? Like is there
a studio maybe in Washington, in DC that is maybe DC is?
Well, it's always going to be Dark Corner Studios with a logo, right? Like the logo will be DCS or DC. I'm not sure. I haven't met with the guy yet, but so I don't think I'm going to be stepping on any toes as long as it doesn't look anything like actual DC Comics logo.
Yeah.
I think I'll be fine. Ken now asked, what mic is Dylan using today? And this is something Dylan came on the program looking forward to talking about. So introduce your microphone, use its first name and then last name.
And it's preferred pronouns. So this is actually the Vanguard V13. Which is a wonderful, a very weird model number, but I kind of like that it's not, like an even number, like it's unique. So this is a tube condenser. So this is running on a big honking power supply. Actually, the power supply is about like twice the size of the mic.
Crap.
It's a sizable power supply, but it smells lovely. It's got that new car smell. I love it.
I do love that. Yeah. How much was that microphone before you go on and before anyone else?
About $1,000. It's about $1,000.
That's not bad.
And I ended up getting on a sale at one of my suppliers. I was on last weekend and they had a sale on a bunch of stuff, and I was like, oh, they're doing weekend like blowout sale kind of things. And I was like scrolling through, and saw this mic, and there's lots of companies of mics that I've never heard from before. And I saw these guys, and then I ended up saying, it's a tube condenser. It looks nice. It's got this kind of nice finish and everything to it. And then I read the marketing wank material on it, and then I watched some videos on YouTube about it, and some sessions that some guys had done with it. And there's this one session that I hear, I forget what channel it is. It may have been like Pro Tools Expert or one of those types of channels. And I heard how it sounded on a voice, and then B, how it sounded on like a classical guitar. And I loved the sparkle that this thing gave to that. And I said, you know what? For, less than $1,000, sure. I'll give it a shot. And so I have to say, I've been really impressed. I obviously got it like Monday or Tuesday, and it came in this lovely flight case, as most of them generally do. High quality material, came in a lovely little wooden box. One thing that this came with that a lot of mics don't come with that I love is this little sock, this little cover.
Yeah.
So that you can stop crap from getting into the mic when you're not using it, which I love. The power supply is great. It's one of these things, and from what I understand, doing real research on the company Vanguard, is they're kind of we're going to put all of the money into the components. And that's going to be our thing. So the switches are awesome. The 7-pin XLR cable, for anyone who's never seen a tube condenser mic, they actually require a special 7-pin XLR cable to power the tube that's in the back of the mic. It's everything is high quality. The XLR cable with my other tube mic is garbage. I mean, it's actually, I think I'll just continue using this big honkin' fatty for that one too, because it's
big honkin' fatty.
Big honkin' fatty. And so that's a good segue actually. So the other thing I love about this is, as you can see, it's got a pretty sexy kind of shock mount on it.
That's a big shock mount though.
It's big, but there's no front on it, so you can get it really close to stuff. It's all mounted around the side and back. So it keeps it so the front is relatively clear, unless you're like me right now and talking into the side of it, where there is in fact a side. But it's really light. Like this thing is about a pound.
Oh wow!
Which for a tube condenser mic is like nothing. Which I'm kind of impressed by. My other tube mic, which is like the bottle style ones, it's made of ceramic on the outside and like zinc aluminum alloy, and it weighs like 3 times this. It weighs like 3 times this. It's one of those things, if you put it on a mic stand without a counterweight on the other side, it's gonna go but no, I love how this thing sounds. Even without compression, I was just doing some spot stuff earlier, and it just sounds good.
I'm liking the sound. It's very, very smooth. Even Ken says it sounds really nice and smooth.
It's smooth. Obviously, because it's not a dynamic, it's more sensitive, so you hear more of my room noise. So I wouldn't be inclined to use it here. I've just set it up here for the sake of the video. But I don't, the one thing that concerns me is I can't very easily find, I didn't look very long, but I, looked on all the obvious places online to find out what kind of tube is in here. If it's a 12AX7, if it's a 12AT7. I generally prefer a 12AT7 because I've got preamps that can gain it, and I like the quality, but I think mics generally use the higher power output 12AX7. I'm a bit of a tube nerd.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'm curious about with something like that is how's the proximity effect on that? Does the tube come into play with stuff like that?
It will certainly add a little bit of sonic coloration down in the low end, especially if you get really hot.
Yeah.
You get really fat and hot. And it's also if the mic distorts. Because essentially what you have here, and there's also a higher noise floor with these, not only because there's a tube, but because there's a bunch of additional gain stages between here and the preamp. Like my board preamp right now, the knob's not at 0, but the knob's at maybe 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Which is, for a condenser even, that's pretty low.
Yeah.
But then, that said, I'm used to it. I've my other tube mic, which is cheaper than this one, but my other tube mic kind of slightly higher noise floor, but it's not as white. It's like more pink, if that makes any sense. There's more rolled off in the high. The noise is concentrated more in the lows, I found, with this. But no, it's a great mic. I've used it a little bit so far, and I think it sounds awesome.
Nice.
I will be keeping it.
Dropping coin on the mics. I like to see that. Next up on the list, actually, this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I did mention struggling with Adobe Premiere Pro. It's something. This is one of those things that comes with the territory of reviewing interfaces. I plugged in a secondary interface, the Scarlett. Actually, you can see it right behind me, Scarlett Solo, because it came in the Solo Studio Pack, which is Monday's video. And something happened, so now I can't put audio into a Premiere Pro video. Not exactly sure how that's going to work, but I'm trying to edit, and it just seizes up completely. So I'm going to figure that out this weekend to try to get this little, it's hard to get with it. There it is. That little interface and the Studio Pack. Now, I was reviewing the Studio Pack, and I've got to say the Scarlett Studio microphone that comes along with it, the Focusrite microphone, had a result that I kind of expected. You're not... It's a Scarlett microphone. It's not made by a reputable company. It's not going to be overly great. I didn't like it. I find it actually quite harsh. And then
I can't say I've ever used a Focusrite microphone. I've used a lot of Focusrite gear. That's awesome.
Yes,
but I've never used a Focusrite mic.
You can tell this is kind of where they cheaped out. The headphones and the microphone. You're paying for the Scarlett Solo, right? Like the Scarlett Solo is awesome.
It is awesome.
But yeah, the microphone, you can tell. And I was like, I didn't trash it in the video, but I just didn't like it. Sorry. And then I turn on, I was watching a YouTuber. I just kind of gotten onto her videos there called Laytar, Laytar. In the first video I watched, she's playing guitar and she's got that microphone set up. And I got to say, it sounded pretty good. I was like, son of a God, now I've got to reshoot the video. Yeah, she's using the Scarlett microphone to pick up her acoustic. And it sounded quite good. I don't know how much she worked on that audio after the fact, though.
That's all, yeah.
Like, you can do some pretty fun things and make a bad mic sound good.
Is there a little bit of a RX7 Spectral Denoise, perhaps?
Well, it's not really the noise. I found the microphone on my voice. I found it harsh and kind of, it wasn't distorting much, but it was enough to make me go, bleh. I found the mids were real muddy, and the higher end was, it was okay.
So at the very least, there's some EQing in there.
Yeah, there's plenty of EQing to be had. The headphones were about as bad. And it's funny because when you go to look at the Scarlett Solo Studio online to see the specs, you'd think you'd see some of the specs from the microphone. No, there's nothing online about it. So you basically got a mic with no specs to look at, which is kind of
they probably got the same company that makes the newer mics, and they just got them to brand it Scarlett.
You know what? This is the worst part about this. Up until, I would say about 6 months ago, you were able to buy the Scarlett Studio with a microphone, the Audio-Technica AT2020.
It's not bad.
So you were able to buy those two about the same price as this Scarlett Studio pack. So it's like, why didn't they just do that? Why doesn't Scarlett just reach out to Audio-Technica and say, hey, give us your AT2020, we'll put it in a package, we'll sell it as a studio pack, here's 30% of the profits off that. I don't know why they all seem to be in this push to have their own crappy microphones that have zero resale. Like zero resale on them.
Yep.
So, that's it's about the same as the M Audio video, which got a lot of hate. So we'll see how that comes out if I can ever get the video. Yeah, if I can ever get the video out. It's like buying a condenser microphone with no print on self-noise. Well, that's the thing. Like, when you have a microphone with zero specs online, and I'm not set up, I don't have the tech to be able to find out what the self-noise is on this mic. Like, I don't have a chamber for that. I don't have all that stuff. So it's hard to trust a microphone when you've got nothing on it. Like, really hard to trust.
Stuff in kits. I mean, kits are convenience items, not necessarily. They're quantity, not quality, I find. I've bought a couple things over the years that have been part of kits, and generally, some of them not bad. Some of the stuff in the kits, like, I've got a kit for lighting, dimmer sort of systems.
Yeah.
I had a kit, even microphones and stuff. That's one thing. When I got that other tube mic, the ART M4, it's technically a kit. I mean, there's several different components that come in those packages, and some of them, especially the cheaper companies, they skimp out.
There's always one thing in the pack that's like, ooh.
That's always like,
yeah, why would I use that?
Like one thing that I do wish that this mic came is because you guys could probably tell on the stream from that angle, the grill is very sparse, which I like.
Yeah.
But you're never taking this out of a room outside. Like I wish that it had come with some kind of just even a small windsock. Like even my other condenser mic came with a big old, dead cat to slide over the top. But this thing is just, but again, I love how it sounds, so I'm sure I could just take a literal sock if I really needed it.
You can also buy specific socks for that size. So, I mean,
and it's the size of it's probably about the size, same size head, maybe a little narrower than the P120.
Those things are usually meant for the clarity, though, right? Like, I mean, because there's color being added by the tubes, you want it to be as clear as possible.
Yeah, which again, that's why I like that the grill, like I can literally see straight through it.
Yeah.
To the other side, and I can
even from this angle, we can see you behind that mic.
Yeah, and you can see that the lovely gold sputtered Mylar diaphragm in there.
Yeah. Oh, but what does the Bible say? That's a short form. No, that's not going to work. Normally, headphones. Headphones are usually the weak spot in a lot of these kits. The microphone, though, too. I mean, you've got companies like Shure, Rode, that are all developing these microphones over time, and it's not something you just smack together and go, there's a microphone.
There's a mic. Yep.
You need to have like R&D on these things.
Well, and you need to have time for people to give you feedback, and then you revise, retweak. So I have a question. Do we know if Shure has any kits of stuff? Because I'm thinking like Shure makes two things really well: headphones, microphones.
I would, and that's one that. But then, how much are you going to save buying them both, right? And that's one of the reasons these are so attractive for people going to buy a kit, and that's why I wanted to review them.
Well, from a business standpoint, these kits, the M Audio one and the one that you just reviewed, these are turnkey solutions.
Yeah,
right. These are no fuss, no muss. I don't have to think about it. Just buy a thing. It does everything I need.
But for $20 extra, $20 extra, I put together a kit with a Scarlett Solo, AKG P120, or Neat Mike's Worker B, and a pair of Audio-Technica ATH M20X. They were. It's just the M20Xs. And it was only $20 more. And you got a microphone you could resell. I'm pretty sure you could resell the Neat Mics like no problem. Those things are hard to get right now. You could resell the headphones, although that's kind of gross. Why would you want to do that? Yeah. But at least the microphone, if you grow out of that and you're like, you know what, I want to buy this other mic, but I don't have the money, I could resell this mic. You can actually do that. For $20 extra, you can't resell anything outside of that interface with the Scarlett Studio and the M Audio Studio pack. Like, there's nothing in that package that you can just resell. No. Which makes...
Other than the Solo, right?
But that's what I mean. The interface, the Solo is great. You could resell that for...
absolutely.
Almost the price you bought it for. But then why are you buying the Studio pack? It comes with an XLR cable. Is that the reason? Like, I didn't include the XLR cable on the repackage, like with the P120 and all that. But I'm starting to think, like, I mean, come on. Do I need to? Like, you can get a cheap XLR $6 on Amazon. Anyways, I just wanted to review them so people can see, but then the amount of hate I get from people that have already bought it and think, this is the greatest thing in the world. The one guy was telling me about the M Audio headphones. These headphones are the best headphones I've ever had. Okay, well, let's maybe
you need to buy better headphones.
Yeah, maybe let's talk about what you should be looking for in headphones.
There we go.
So that's the one. I've got a pair of Shure SRH 940s on the way, and I'm gonna do a headphone video when they come in. Why you need a flat response.
I think people like when you're slagging a product that someone has bought, they take it as like a personal offense that you're like attacking their purchasing decisions. It's like, look, I've bought stuff that I regretted buying, and some of which like everybody has, especially gear sluts like Andrew and I. And it's just one of those things that, like, don't take offense to it. Like, you know,
I'm not making fun of people for buying the Scarlett Studio pack.
I mean, there are lots of people online that do it. Like, if you buy this, you're an idiot.
No, well, I remember
that's not what we're doing.
When I first started my studio, I had a Scarlett 2i2, and if you went on Gear Sluts, everyone was like, Scarlett is the worst. You shouldn't be buying Scarlett for any kind of voiceover studio, because for voiceover, you need the high-end preamps. No, you don't. A Scarlett 2i2 is great to start a VO career with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's fantastic. You don't need...
You should be cognizant of your mic purchase so you don't have to gain the hell out of it. But I think that as an interface, like, I know lots of industry people that use like veterans that use the Scarlett 2i2 for VO work, especially for mobile rigs and stuff. It's perfect.
Yeah, unless you're doing something that needs whisper quiet. Like whisper quiet, but most VO doesn't require whisper quiet. Like, not even close.
Maybe some actual, like, character acting stuff, but as far as, like, commercial reads, maybe even certain audiobook stuff doesn't really need that.
Even audiobook doesn't need to be whisper quiet. Like,
no.
You're using your room tone. As long as your room tone is consistent, no one cares. As long as it's not like a in the background, you're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Bangs Naughty Bit says, just got my Rode Wireless Go 2 in an hour ago. I really want to get those. It's what I'm in contact with Rode right now. Apparently, I'm going to be picking up their latest product. They're going to be sending it to me to check out, which is kind of our next topic here. Rode has released some new software called Rode Connect. that looks like it's going to be changing the game for USB microphones. Now, if you have a USB microphone and you've ever tried to plug more than one at a time into your computer, there's a bit of an issue because your computer will only recognize one audio source at a time.
Each one of those mics essentially functions as a separate sound card, a separate interface by itself. So to try and aggregate them together, you either need like an ASIO for all, or if you're on a Mac, you can create an aggregate device. But it's not fun.
There's one called Voicemeeter Banana that a lot of people have used. It's a program that you can plug a bunch in. The problem with Voicemeeter, though, it's wildly difficult for a beginner to pick up. Like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on figuring out how to use this. Rode has released something called Rode Connect, and it's basically a way for you to connect as many of their NT USB minis to a computer as you want, up to 4. And it has a cute little mixer section. It basically turns your computer into a Rodecaster Pro. Now, yes, it does require the NT USB mini right now. It does look like they're going to be expanding in the future. I wouldn't bet on them expanding into different USB mics anytime soon, because they're trying to drive product sales up for the NT USB mini, which I think have been kind of lagging for the last little while. Spreaker Studio supports 3 mics, and there are options out there for putting multiple USB mics in, but I have yet to see one as streamlined and as dumbed down simple as the Rode version, the Rode Connect. Like, it looks like anyone of any walk of life can walk in, plug in 3, 4 mics, and go.
Whereas I'm looking at Voicemeeter Banana and it's getting me nauseous.
Right? Like
I know what these do, but just,
yeah, why does it have to be that ridiculously difficult to work at?
It just looks constipated.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I describe the interface of this, is constipated. And I mean, I'm used to analog boards looking like that because they don't have a choice but to look constipated. But that's a software.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Also, Hindenburg Journalist Pro supports multiple USB mics. Yeah. Yes, Rode Connect does look like software Rodecaster Pro, which I think is the bonus, because Hindenburg Journalist Pro isn't rookie software. It's not something that somebody's just going to sit down, throw it on their computer, and go with.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people that, they're still, well, why can't I connect more than one USB mic to my computer? Because they don't even know. All they want to do is plug it in and go. They don't want to learn audio basics. They don't want to know about all this stuff. They want to plug it in and go. That's all they care about. And I think that's the one thing that Rode knows well is this isn't...
They're dealing with content creators that want to get shit done.
Metallica's not recording their album with a bunch of NT USBs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, plain and simple.
Or like, radio stations are not setting up NT USBs in their on-air studios. Like,
Hindenburg's very black box, push the make better button. Yeah, I haven't used Hindenburg much. I was kind of looking at it when I was planning on whether or not I was going with Adobe or whatever. I didn't like the video editing software. What do they call that? I can't even remember it right now.
What's the product called? Hindenburg Journalist
Pro. Yeah. Anyways, I don't like the workflow with the video editing, so I just ended up going with Adobe. It goes on sale every February 13th. I'll look into it. Podcastage did do a video on Rode Connect. Yes, it's a great video. He really liked it. It's hard not to like. And this is like the one thing that you got to take away from this is these products like Rodecaster Pro, Rode Connect, all of these are not meant for somebody that's getting into professional audio production.
No.
These are meant for people that want to produce a podcast, and that's it.
Yeah, and get it done without, going to electrical engineering school.
Yeah, or learning how to work a Zoom board. And that's I recommended the Zoom L8 to somebody, and they're like, "It's all Greek. I don't know what to do with those buttons or this or that or
just gibberish."
So something like this, I think, is going to be a big deal. I'm still waiting on it. I'll see when it gets here. It does have to come from Australia. So I guess.
Damn it, Rode.
Yeah, well, apparently I contacted him a few days before, and last week I said that Rode had something, and this was it. And they were just waiting for them to come off. I think they're getting me some NT USBs so I can try it out. Because I don't want to go out and buy 4-Rode NT USB minis.
No. Well, I don't think you need 4. You could probably get away with 2, but still, it's a principle. It's the principle of the thing.
Hindenburg is very much not a music-oriented workflow. It's really meant for a reporter doing a package. Yeah, and that's...
Well, with a name like journalist, you kind of assume...
Well, it does lend itself to podcast workflows like Bang says, but at the same time, I have not music necessarily on the brain. Like, that's not what I'm necessarily going for, but I would like it to be a possibility. It'd kind of be nice once in a while. So, Hindenburg, what is the damn video editing software they have? Because it's Black Magic, basically. Mm-hmm. It's Black Magic stuff. You know what? My brain is mush on a Friday. I'm not even going to try to remember. So what do you think?
Someone's going to find it for you.
USB automatic leveling. Yeah, I know Hindenburg has automatic leveling, which everybody drools over, which is great when your audio is going to be pumped over an AM signal. But automatic leveling rarely goes over really well with especially damaged audio. Like if everyone's recorded at like, most of your audio is recorded at neg 12 and someone else's is at like neg 20, automatic leveling's fine for something like that. Like it's pretty decent. But when it's like some dude screaming into the mic half the time, the other time he's 10 feet away from his mic, automatic leveling is such a crutch.
So it's not like a loudness normalization tool then. It's something.
It's kind of, it's automatic leveling. So it'll take all the audio and make all the audio the same.
But how? There's so many different interpretations of that.
Apparently it does.
There's like
Davinci Resolve. Thank you very much, Igor.
Oh, Davinci. Yeah.
Davinci Resolve. Like I said, Friday is not a good day for me.
I've heard of Davinci Resolve. I just never knew it was Hindenburg.
It's not Hindenburg. I believe Hindenburg is I could be wrong that the two are related, actually. If I am, I apologize.
Well, I just typed Hindenburg video editor into Google, and Google seemed very confused. So
try Bing. Bing works. Davinci Resolve. So what is Davinci Resolve? Because Davinci has their own audio editor. What is that audio editor for Blackmagic? Somebody get that for me. Evening gents from Plymouth, UK. Thanks for the reviews on mics. I'm thinking of ordering the AKG D5 for amateur radio use. Would you say that's a good use for it? Yeah. Amateur radio is a wide... that could be a billion different things.
Yeah.
Fairlight. Thanks, Bangs. Fairlight is the audio editor for Blackmagic. I did not like the workflow on it. My apologies for getting things mixed up. Nick, for AKG D5, SM58, all of those are going to be great utility mics that will work for a lot of things. Depending on the amateur radio you're doing,
they're Swiss Army knives. I mean, they'll sound okay on most things. They're not going to sound amazing on anything, really.
Yeah, they're not going to blow anyone away. Your voice isn't going to, be dripping of silver or anything. You're going to do okay. If you want to have a little more depth to your voice, try a condenser, AKG, P120, 220, or 420 is a great.
Yeah. The perception lineup is actually neat. I really one day would like to try the 820, I think it is, or the 840.
Yeah, that's
the tube condenser in the lineup.
That's like $500, and it's a cheap one when you think about it.
Well, so I'm looking at it and I'm comparing. I think the ART M4, which is their flagship mic, which is also, I think, pretty much around the same price point. I without trying it, I could probably almost guarantee the AKG 840 or 820 is probably better.
Yeah.
Just because I was so blown away by the 120 at like $100, $120 price point, what you can get out of it, and then the lineup just keeps getting better as you get.
What I've looked at, and I haven't been hands on with the 220 or 420. From the looks of it, the only difference is the noise level. The self noise, and they don't sound the same. Some of them have some different features on the they've got switching on the switches, but like the one thing that outside of the switches, the one thing I see is the just the self noise, and which is a big deal for a lot of people. I'm going to get all of them and put them side by side and do a full comparison of the AKG lineup. That is on the way at some point. Yeah, Spelling, Fairlight, bought by Blackmagic, used to be a major audio company. I had never heard of them until a few years back, I believe, when they were bought by Blackmagic. And I didn't like the workflow. It's not a great... I've seen a lot of reviews for it, because when I was looking for a replacement for Adobe, that was one of the first ways I looked. It's not as feature rich as Adobe, and I just, that said, the Davinci Resolve, the workflow is completely left field from what Premiere Pro is, and I don't feel like actually learning a whole new subset of.
That was like me when I went to go use Avid Media Composer for video work, and it's just like,
yeah,
it's a very different. I wouldn't even technically qualify Media Composer as an NLE, like a proper nonlinear editor.
Yeah.
Whereas that's like Premiere Pro is like the flagship of that category of
well,
software.
and it's hard to fight with, right? I mean, unless you're going Mac, Premiere Pro is the way to go. It's the one that has, if you need plugins, if you need video effects, you can buy packages and just throw it on and you're good to go. So that's well worth it. Plugins for OBS Quebecer, I will leave that to Bangs. Ken seems to know what he's talking about. I would not have any knowledge of plugins for OBS.
Nope, no idea.
I am a rookie streamer. So yeah, I'll leave that up to them to work you through with that. Bang says, Avid, if you're in the industry. I know guys that have gone through the video industry, so they've gone through school to become, working on, they want to work on movie sets, and they swear by Avid once they've gone through school for it.
Yep.
But
well, I guess in a lot of ways it's like Pro Tools. Like Pro Tools is so plugged by the education system for the industry, and so is Media Composer. And they're great softwares. I mean, I use Media Composer and Pro Tools, obviously, and I don't have an issue with them, but there definitely is a learning curve if you've never used software like either of those before.
Yeah, learning curves for any software outside of like iMovie or like anything that's considered a consumer pro, like at that line of consumer to pro.
GarageBand.
Well, that's another one, but that's the entry to Logic Pro X, is it? Whatever.
Yep.
Logic is not a simple walk in and know what you're doing. So anytime you're dealing with software like that, yeah, there's going to be that huge curve. But once you hit that curve and you get over it, everything's basically a walk. Oh yeah, well,
because what you get is, yeah, these softwares have there's a learning curve to them, but what you get at the end is more flexibility and more options creatively. So it's worth it. I think as much as it's a pain to sit there and learn the fundamentals of some of these physical hardware tools or software tools, is they really can give you so much more in your toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, though, I wouldn't launch a YouTube channel with Avid Media Producer or
Media Composer.
Media Composer, thank you.
Yeah.
No. Just stick to your.
Nope.
Yeah,
well, it's again, it's like if you, and that goes for anybody, anything. Like if you take on some new skill and you're going to try and learn everything, but like, no, one thing at a time. Like get your content chops up, then maybe start to upgrade your hardware, then maybe change your software centerpiece that you use, and
yeah,
like, but don't try to take everything on at once.
Speaking of, by the way, the conversation going on in chat, I would honestly say anyone that's chatting, if you have a question that we have no idea, Bang seems to know a lot about a lot. So if he has recommendations, feel free to go to him. It's kind of like the third member of the show.
Much, yeah.
We're not paying you, Bangs.
No.
Just so you know, first package is free for Media Composer. Yeah. I see. I'm also at a stage right now where I'm not going to learn a whole other system of workflow, because my workflow, I've got it down to such an art of when I do things, how I do things. So
yeah.
That said, the ability to edit a freaking video without having something crash on me would be so nice. Like knowing that I'm going to have a video on Monday without having to sacrifice my whole weekend to get it would be fantastic, Adobe. If anyone from Adobe's listening, I would really appreciate.
So walk us through what. You said there's a software update. By the way, what? So you said it's like 14.9, which was the 2020 version.
Yeah.
Why isn't that like 2020 point? Like that's what I kind of like about Pro Tools. Is Pro Tools is like 2021.3. Oh, that's March of 2021's version.
Yeah.
Like it's easy.
Yeah, they don't
juggling two numbers.
Adobe doesn't like suggestions like that.
Apparently not.
It's you know what? I know it's an audio driver. I know it's because I plugged in the Scarlett at the same time as my AudioFuse Studio, which I don't know why my AudioFuse Studio does not like another interface plugged in at the same time. Most of the time you can plug as many as you want and just select the one you want.
Hey, did you turn it off and turn it back on?
Yes. Although actually maybe unplugging it would work.
Maybe.
That's actually.
I mean, what's the on the AudioFuse? What's the switch? Is it a physical hardware or is it like a push button switch?
Push button switch.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So it's not like a hard off. It's like it's a digital on. Like it's
well,
a switch
yeah.
I
mean, but if you want, you turn it off and then unplug the power, and that's
So maybe try that.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that before I try the drivers because maybe it's not a driver thing. It's funny too because when I went into Premiere Pro the first time after doing all that crap, you've got to switch over all of your preferences again, and it had it on AudioFuse MME drivers, which yeah. Anyways,
the Microsoft Multimedia, what is it, environment?
Ken says
the Windows crap.
Ken says nothing says expert like his screen name. Bang's Naughty Bits is an expert name. If I had any kind of
rolls
resume,
off. It rolls off so nice.
And
Bang's
you get
Naughty
a
Bits.
visual picture with that too. You know exactly.
Yeah,
and actually, there's also an audible sound to that too. It's kind of a slapping sound. I don't. It's hard.
Bang's Naughty Bits.
Maybe a clapping. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I think bang is one of the nicest, like perfectly crafted words. Just because it's it's onomatopoeia, right?
Slaps Naughty Bits would be another one.
Slaps Naughty Bits. Pops Naughty Bits.
Okay. Bang says, may I bitch about something that has bothered me for years? Sure, why not?
Absolutely.
RX Editor can't use one interface device for input and another interface device for output. Headphones.
That's yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You have something to say, Dylan?
I concur. This has been a problem for a while, and they've done it with the different RX. It's not just RX. Any of the isotope stuff, like even Ozone, you're kind of locked into one or the other, and I've got 3 interfaces plugged into the system, so it's very common where I might want to use. Well, Ozone is not a huge deal because it doesn't have an input, but with RX, it can be quite the nuisance.
Yeah. No, yeah, anything like that, that kind of stuff. That's one of those where you got to get a hold of one of the developers and just like, dude, please. Their support is aware for years. Oh, wow. So their support knows about it, too. That's just insulting. Is that not? Like, when Adobe knows there's certain crashes, like this crash that I'm having, which is an audio device crash, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to figure it out. I did it once before. This exact same thing happened to me about 2 months back. It took me all weekend to figure it out and get it fixed. And they know about it. They know that this is happening because you go online and you see like hundreds of comments. This is happening to me. This is happening to me. And all they do is like, have you tried clearing your cache? Could maybe your cache maybe, and that's the one go-to all the time. Clear your cache.
Well, it's like, you know what? That's not just an Adobe thing. Avid with Pro Tools does the same thing, where it's like if you have if this error shows up, just go and delete your OSI preferences. Every single problem, it's like go and delete your preferences and
but it
restart.
doesn't. But this is the one problem that I've run. I don't run into a lot of problems with Premiere Pro, but this is the one that there's no fix for it online. So I know I'm going to have to reset all of my probably drivers, unplug this, plug it back in, and it'll probably take me a good couple hours, and then I get to go do the video finally, or reshoot a video just in case the files are corrupted now, which is possible. With a Premiere Pro, it likes to do that, and Adobe does nothing. I find that insulting as a paying customer, like flat out.
Well, again, I think Isotope, I don't know actually if Isotope has a subscription model yet. They probably do.
I think they do actually. Yeah, there's a new Isotopes started doing that about a year ago, I think.
But like a lot of their software is still like you can buy it outright. I that's another whole thing. Is the
You're
whole
still a
subscription
customer,
model.
whether you're subscription or you bought
yes,
it.
but I think Adobe the fires under their ass a little more aggressively because people are paying like regularly, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for regular
you have no
support.
choice.
You have no excuse not to fix something like that.
Yeah,
None.
and it's super. I clear my cache every month when you bill me Adobe. Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those. Adobe is probably the worst offender for it because, well, you're one of a billion people using our product. Why do we care? But then it's like, well, I don't care if I go over to Final Cut Pro. Like if I start doing all of my video editing in a cheaper software that's just as
that
powerful,
works better. Yeah, and
well,
that works better.
It's more consistent. There's that. And guess what? If I plug in my AudioFuse Studio into my Mac, there won't be a problem. There won't be any device problems, any issues between the program and it would just work. And it would be wonderful.
That should be well, I mean, there's exceptions to this, but that's Apple's tagline instead of think different. Is it still think different? I mean, I know it was in the 80s.
No, that was the 80s. I don't think they've done that.
I don't think it should. There's new slogan should be it just works.
Yeah, and Bang says I bought FCPX once. Final Cut Pro, you buy it, it's yours. I would have done the same with Davinci Resolve Studio. However, I don't like the workflow and I don't want to learn one. And Final Cut Pro is pretty close to Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
And there's enough designers out there that you can actually go to Final Cut Pro and be done with it. So it looks like I'm going to have a Mac editing station, a Windows recording station for my audio. I'll probably still be doing audio and stuff through this.
I got a black box KVM switcher if you need it.
I would actually love that.
It's a pricey little box. It's actually so cool. So you can set up different monitors, and then it's set up so that you can plug, I think, up to 4 or 5 different consoles into it, or 4 or 5 different systems, one console, and then you can literally just move your mouse between the monitors, and it flips from one computer to the other, like seamlessly.
I would love that.
It's amazing. I used it at work for years, and it's weird at first getting used to, like, I had 3 different systems with the Blackmagic box plugged in, but like you get so used, or sorry, not Blackmagic.
How much was
box.
that?
I think it depends on the model, but they're not cheap. Those
What's
little
not
boxes
cheap
are not
to
cheap.
you though? Not cheap to you is different to me.
I don't remember.
Like $200-300 is worth that.
No, it's more than that.
Oh,
it's definitely
okay.
It's definitely more than that.
Because I want my goal is to have the 49-inch ultra wide Samsung the G9 massive 49-inch ultra wide curved screen, and the Mac probably on a 34-inch ultra wide. Which that's the goal, and I would love to
have a wall of monitors.
Well, also, but the problem I'm running into is getting another keyboard, another mouse. I don't like.
Yeah, well, I don't like that. I don't like that.
So,
I had that years ago, and it's so cumbersome. I hate it.
FCP is amazing on the new M1 chips, but plugins are a significant issue still. That's annoying. Yeah, because that's what I'm going is the new M1. I think those are going to be like everything transitioning over. I've considered, because I've taken so long getting the Mac Mini, the M2 chip or whatever the next chip is probably that's what they're waiting to fix a lot of this crap with. Because their development is now moving towards that rather than maintaining the M1. And Apple is incredibly bad for this. The first generation of anything ends up left in the dust. Well, no, it's not always bad. The first iPad was amazing. The problem is, they don't work anymore. They drop support for it almost instantly when they move on from it, because they're like, well, you know what? We've changed everything now. Get the new M2, you don't have to worry. And it's like,
pretty much.
So I think I might just wait. We'll see. I'm really desperate. One of the reasons I wanted to get that is the project Dylan and I were talking about a few months back. It was a music project that we were thinking of doing, and I want Logic Pro X for its drum machine capabilities. Its drum machine is phenomenal. Like the ability to program drums on Logic Pro X is unrivaled as far as I'm concerned. Like, and I've used Reason, I've used all those. The drums on Logic Pro X are just.
Well, so when you say drum program, are you talking about the actual interface used to program drums, or are you talking about the sound?
No, the interface.
Okay.
Yeah, the interface for it is
Cubase's percussive editor is also quite good.
I haven't used that in years. I wouldn't have any idea how good it is or not. But like the fact that I can get Final Cut Pro with Logic Pro X, a drum interface that is mind-blowingly simple as everything Apple is, I'm not going to bother with Cubase. I'm not going to bother with Reason. Reason is also quite good too.
No, but like you said, unrivaled, which immediately in my brain triggered.
So,
I'm going to try to think of rivals.
You can get a KVM to use one keyboard and mouse on several computers. Yeah, that's
literally
the dream.
what we were just. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Which, if you get into that game,
Bangs, I do believe it's going to be almost yearly releases for CPUs through Mac because of the competition on CPU side when it comes to what AMD and Intel are doing right now. As their yearly refreshes happen, Mac wants to stay ahead of that curve. And since they're doing their own silicone, I think they're going to be probably upping that every year as well. It might not be full-on redevelopment, but I do believe the next chip for Apple is going to be a refresh of the M1, the M2. I think that's very possible. And yes, manufacturers of CPUs are doing that. Intel, not very well. They're still on 14 nanometer, but the AMD is the only one. They're taking, I think, this year off, but up until this point, they've been doing refresh 1 year. They've been doing the TikTok on that for the past few years with the Ryzen setup. The Ryzen setup has been fantastic. I've got a first-gen Ryzen, and now they're on 4th gen, and it's miles ahead of where I went to. So
it just looks like Logic uses the piano roll to do. Like, I'm not seeing anything.
No, they've got a drum kit. It's a drum kit, and you have styles. So if you wanted to just and then
so you're talking about so they've got a good like drum plugin.
Yeah, it's a drum plugin, but then when you edit it, you just use a piano roll, which is fine. Yeah. Like I've got the Arturia, so I can actually play with that as well.
Yeah, as far as so in that case, as far as those that come like drum plugins that come with a DAW, like obviously there's paid plugins that blow that out of the water more than likely. But as far as stuff that comes stock, it looks quite extensive. The actual plugin itself, rather than
it's
interface.
Phenomenal. And there is a lot you still have to tweak the drums. Like the drums aren't going to come out sounding perfectly natural.
They never do.
But what I'm planning on doing with the audio is I would have a stock drum line, and then that can just be taken out by a drummer, and he can add their own. Right? Like I'm not planning on doing a drum line that's going to stay in a finished song.
You're doing a scratch.
Exactly. The drums would be scratch. Everything else would be fine. Throw in the drums. You're good to go. That's okay, Nick. Don't worry about it, brother. Nobody's being held to the wall here for discussions. Google Mac Rumors buying guide, and they have a historic release list and expected revision. Oh, for Mac Rumors, Mac with their CPUs are completely different than their computers before because they were just relying on Intel chips and kind of blowing those Intel chips out of the water. But there's already Mac Rumors talking M2 and M2 Quick. Whether or not they actually do a release cycle of the Mini, I doubt it. Like, I don't think the Mini is going to be released next year. But, however, the M2 is going to show up on their next device, whether it's the they got rid of the iMac Pro. So they no longer have that ridiculous iMac Pro, the 27-inch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're getting rid of that. But I think the next desktop version is probably going to be a different one, the M2. And then their silicone is going to start to slide into their newer computers as they go. And the Mac Mini will probably be refreshed in about 3 years.
I have to say, so I've got, like, this week I got the new iPhone 12 Pro because my old iPhone 8 finally decided that it didn't want to be alive anymore. And I have to say, I mean, again, the thing with any phone, any device is in the first little while, it's awesome. It works.
Yeah.
So I have to say, so far, like I was about to say, so far I'm really happy with it. Obviously, I just bought it. So it's of course going to be super fast and like it's going to be responsive as hell. That's one thing actually that I noticed above it then is the actual latency for processing was a lot quicker on this, even from my 8 when I bought it. Is this thing like my finger does something and it's like it's done?
Yeah, that was that was actually the precursor to the M1. The chip in that is it's the A14 or A12.
The A14
A14, yeah, that was the precursor to the M1. I've got the best phone I've ever owned is a Note 10 Plus. I've had it a year and a half, still as snappy as the first day I had it.
That's kind of what I'm hoping with this, now that they're kind of using their own system on a chip, which is very extensive. I looked up like diagrams of the different modules of it, and that A14 is packed to the teeth.
Yeah, they're
stuff.
not screwing around with their SoCs.
No.
And this is the one thing Apple does really well.
The built-in like machine learning image processor that's in this is actually amazing. Like even just as soon as you take a picture and you open it in the roll, suddenly it's like whoop, and then it changes. You're like, whoa, wow, that actually, like automatic bokeh, automatic this, automatic that, and it's like, okay, all right.
So Bang says the Mac Mini has gone 4 years between revisions. Yes, it has. Here's the issue with all Mac products being on Intel prior. The issues with Intel have been heat, and if you've owned any Mac product that has had an Intel chip in it, the thermal limits being hit on those Macs, especially on the laptops, has been ridiculous.
Intel, get the hell at 10 nanometer. What the hell are you guys doing?
Every time Mac goes and decides to re-release something, they have to rebuild a heat system or a heat dispersion system for that new chip, because the new chips are just hotter than the last one.
Some of which have been colossal failures.
Yeah, colossal.
And lead to the CPU
So now that they no longer have to worry about redesigning full cooling systems for a CPU, the Mac Mini was the big one. And the reason they went so far in between the Mac Minis is because to cool that thing is not easy. And you throw in, let's say, a 9th gen i9 or even the i7 into something like that, the cooling they would have required for that would have blown it out of the water. It would have been huge. That's why one of the first things they launched with the M1 was the Mac Mini, because it's literally a silent computer. Like literally, their laptop, the Air, doesn't even have a cooling fan on it.
Yeah, passively cooled.
It's passively cooled. It's a laptop that destroys almost every other laptop on the market. It's passively cooled. So the idea that they're going to be able to ramp up new SoCs and
I'll
new
run
versions.
Furmark. I'll run Furmark on the MacBook Air for 16 hours and see how it does as far as heat dispersion goes.
Well, no, it will still
very, very warm. Well, because for passive cooling technology, the entire body becomes a heatsink. So it's got the actual physical chassis is going to just start boiling.
It does passively downshift CPU power. However, Linus Tech Tips has it's a make it yourself. Basically, you pull off the back panel and you put on your own pads, and it spreads the heat over the bottom of the computer more evenly. And it's a $30 fix, and because that was the one thing they're going to is either the Air or I think it was the iMac Pro, and the only difference was less thermal limits because one had a fan. So if you put those pads on, apparently they have very, very close performance. And that's like right there, you're saving, I think, $500 Canadian anyways.
Well, even with some of Apple's cooling tech, like even in my own MacBook, which is now a $3,500 paperweight, even its cooling was like, it's got 2 blowers in very peculiar places. And then what was it? I saw like a few months ago, Rossman put out a video where he was just casually taking apart a laptop to fix because it was it was a vegetable, and he opened up the back and there was a cooling fan.
That wasn't plugged
Not
in.
on top of anything.
Yeah.
It was literally just chilling in the corner, not even on top of a heatsink, and the CPU is like way over here with nothing on top of it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Well, and to be fair to Mac, they've been trying to cool some behemoth chips from Intel.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure it's like anything else. Like they're trying ideas, but I'm like, you would have thought that something like that, R&D or quality control would have been like, what's that?
One might slip through the cracks. As much as I love Louis Rossmann, their Macs aren't that bad. Yes,
he's just savage at Apple because the whole right to repair.
Right to repair is a big deal. Bang
and
says,
I do agree it is a big deal. But
Bang says I do use aluminum laptop stands for my MacBook Pro, and yeah, I mean there's ways to, make sure you're not putting it on top of a carpet, right?
or on a bed, or spread, or
even like some people put the pillow on their lap and then the computer on top. Don't do that.
I had a coworker that literally used like a couch cushion as a riser, and within 3 days they were blue screening all over the place on a non-Mac.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah,
and it was just like.
Apple, they say, is a surprisingly low staff company. However, not on their sales side. And I've come into contact with Apple's ripoff behaviors before. I had an old 2011 iMac, and they were horrible for their fan controls. So their fan controller on the board would basically just die, and the fans would ramp to 100%. So then your iMac would just run at 100% all the time. Took it in. He's like, nah, you need a brand new logic board. It's going to cost you $800. Not even worth it. And now that I've actually seen the actual repair of that on Louis Rossmann's channel. It's a single chip.
Well, I was going to say it's probably the SMC that manages the fan speed, and it just replaced the system management controller chip.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, well, again, anything like that with Macs, and to be fair, the SMC has lots of issues, whether it's battery control, charging indications, like there's all kinds of weird, but it's a relatively easy to acquire chip for a repair company. Yeah. And it's not one little quick solder job, unseat it, seat it, done.
Instead of needing to replace
the whole board.
The logic board. Okay, so just going to slide back into audio here before we're done. We're at an hour. Ken says, I make videos in my truck and use a P4 and a dynamic mic for the audio. I want a condenser, but trucks always idle around me. Is it feasible to remove that kind of background noise using a condenser? Yes, it is feasible to actually, depending on the hum of that, a lot of truck noises would probably be taken out by a high-pass filter.
Yeah, high-pass filter, or I would say if you're doing that regularly, and also if it's an income stream, getting RX and using Spectral Denoise.
Yes.
Spectral Denoise, basically just like the voice denoise, although in a little bit more of an effective way, in my opinion, is just a fancy gate. Yep. Just a very high resolution multi-band gate, and it does a really good job. I use it every day on stuff that's recorded on smartphones, stuff that's recorded on iRigs through smartphones, so like stuff that has high noise issues. It works really well. Or even with my SM7.
Bang says NVIDIA GPU and that RX stuff. NVIDIA GPU stuff that they do with that, I do like it. Like it does impact some of the core audio depending on the frequencies that you're trying to whittle out.
I have seen some.
It's amazing if you can stand artifacts. Yes, that's the problem, is the artifacting.
Yes, yeah. So if you're using it, depending on, like, again, if you're using it on someone else's system and it's just location audio, it's probably passable. But,
yeah. Also, the problem with it is it's so intensive on a system. You need to have one of the 2000 series minimum, and you probably want a 3000 series NVIDIA graphics card if you're going to be doing it. And if you're recording in a truck, I'm guessing you're not running a system with a
3080
in it. So I would say I've been a truck driver. I actually trained truck drivers. Well, I don't anymore, but I used to.
Back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day. I would say high pass filter, that rumble that comes in from other trucks, you're not going to find much of that in the higher frequencies. A lot of that rumble is going to be on the low end.
Again, unless you got a window open and you got, you're smoking a dart while you're also doing your recording. But if if the thing is locked up, no doors open, no windows open, a lot of it's going to be just low end rumble.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Like if you rolled off to 100, you're going to be losing some of the low end clarity of your own voice. But if you roll off from 100, you'll probably remove 99% of the truck sound. And while it might roll off some of your voice, people will get used to that sound. So I would say try that first. The RX, Isotope RX is wildly expensive. But if you can buy that and learn how to use the Spectral Denoise and kind of,
or even voice denoise, like Aiden, I know you use voice denoise.
Yep.
And, you know,
It's for a specific sound like that, though. I think you'd want to get into Spectral, find that sound, and every time you do a new episode, as long as you're not sitting beside a Kenworth with a broken exhaust, you're probably going to be okay to just kind of cut and paste that onto each one. So rolling off at 80, so I'll try that. Yeah, try 100. It should be okay. RX Elements, does that have Spectral Voice Denoise?
No idea. It might.
If it does, get the RX Elements, pick it up, and Spectral Voice Denoise will do. You learn how to use that to find that sound and to delete that sound. Oh, it's not in there. Okay. So I believe
I'm not surprised. It is one of the biggest like money making or money saving features of that piece of software. Between that and the mouth declick.
Oh, the mouth declick. Oh my God. I actually, the last video I just did because I had to, that Scarlett Studio microphone, it popped everything. I actually had an S sound pop on that mic. Now I get it. I'm a poppy guy.
It's obviously got a lot of nasally sound in it.
But I popped with an S, dude. Like I was going through taking out all, but the sound, the mouth noises, because I didn't run the.
See, with this, I'd probably pop an S just because of how small the grill is.
Yeah. Voice denoise only. Voice denoise might work. You can kind of craft voice denoise to grab some of those rumbly sounds, but it's not as.
I haven't found it to be as useful personally.
It's not as exact.
The three things for me that make RX worth its, we're talking about the plugins. We're not talking about the actual editor by itself, which has its own things that you can use in it that are pretty amazing. But the voice denoise or the spectral denoise, the mouth declick, and the declip.
Oh, the declip's really good too.
Declip is actually scarily effective. Like I have gotten stuff recorded in clean feed and I don't know anyone who's ever tried to use clean feed on an iOS device or even on an Android in a mobile browser. The mic is stupid sensitive. Earlier, I had the mic like over here, like a good 2 feet away from my face because it was so clippy, and I was reading a spot like, come on out to Spruce Needles, and it was clipping.
You can change the volume input on that, eh?
No, you can't. Not on iOS anyway. Maybe on Android.
Maybe. I've never used it on a cell phone. I just did an interview with the mayor of Ottawa this morning. He did it on his cell phone. I changed it from my desktop settings, though. So on desktop, I changed it.
Where?
Oh, you know what? That might be the pro version. I've got the pro version.
I'm on our clean feed right now, and I only see
under settings. So you go into settings. Oh, see this 0 right here?
Yeah, that should be on grade with the mono. Yeah. I've always wondered what that number was there for.
That's the dB change. So I think it's like $15 a month for the pro version of that.
It's 22 for like individuals, 30 something for business.
Yeah, but you're an individual as far as I'm concerned.
It would be going on a business credit card. So
all right, guys, we're about to pack this in. I will ask this. I'm going to be getting a logo done, and I'm probably going to put some options up. Let you guys have some say in the logo. This is probably going to be a logo that at some point in much future Dark Corner Studios might be on some merch. So let me know what you think.
So remember earlier in the stream he said I'm not doing merch, and now he's saying he's
right
probably
now.
Doing merch.
No, I'm not rolling this out. The worst part is if you want a T-shirt printed, you've got to get like 30 of them done.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like as much as you're making them for yourself, you're probably also going to end up ordering a slew.
Or
of them
I just never have to wash it.
Or that. Yeah, you just rotate between the 30 of them. Like when you have the clothing content calendar that we are talking about earlier, you have like DCS shirt 1, DCS shirt 2, and then just roll back on them in the next week.
Every 30 videos
or use them as acoustic treatment. Just pin them to the wall behind you and use them as foam.
The one thing, and this is also something, let me know. If you did want merch, what would you want it on? I am getting mouse pads. I want to get a work pad. Gamers Nexus? Yeah, you know Gamers Nexus. Yep. They have a work pad that has like a deconstructed GPU on it. I think that's really cool. I would love.
I think there's some cool. One thing that I think would be cool for merch, and you'd have to really figure out like what exactly these are called to the manufacturers that print this stuff, is things like these, because people that have mics,
sucks.
These are really useful. And this isn't like you're not making. This is literally just to cover it when it's not being used, and you could just print your logo on the side of that. And it could be
like a
cool.
penis-shaped bag.
Pretty much, it is. It is a cloth condom. It is a cloth condom.
Yep. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, like little things like that, or even if you can get like, there's companies that make the wind socks. Like I know our station had our logo printed on one. If you can find those and make a bunch of those merch, because that would be kind of neat to have.
Feed it into Google image search and see if it's similar to any other logos. I'm probably going to do that. I do have an actual professional logo designer on this.
Yeah, that should be the first thing that you check is how close is this to
I'm going to make sure that he's doing some of that. I'm also going to do the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to get a couple designs done up and see what he like. I'm going to get him to do a couple sketches first. I like the design my daughter did, the D and the C with the C kind of on the side and up. I think it's a cool concept. It's not refined, and it needs to be refined. Funny enough, she's actually going through school to become a graphic designer.
It's a good graphic. I like the logo too, actually, that you have right now.
But I want something like, could you put that on a shirt? That D and the C? Maybe. We'll see.
Again, vectorized.
It's going to have to be clean. Fiverr professionals cut exciting corners. You know what? And that's just like, if you were here earlier, Bangs, for my complaint about Twitter, the idea of spending less money on something like this kind of hurts my soul. I don't want to play around with this, because I would like something that, like, when you get it, you're like, yeah, that'll sell. This is a guy that knows how to do logos, knows what's good. So
yeah,
we'll see. I also want to do like one of the cheesy ones, but I wanted to have like a separate, not a logo, but more of a background banner logo with audio somehow integrated with audio waveform. So I know that one's been a little bit overdone, but I promise you I will not include a microphone in my logo. Probably the most overused.
It's kind of a cliche. I mean, yeah.
I paid $200 for podcast art a few years ago. You know what? That's about the going rate for art. If you want something simple and quick, it's about $100 an hour, 2 hours of work. And I'm sorry, it's worth it. Pay people what they're worth. Do not pay somebody $60 to work for 4 hours on something for you.
Well, again, you're going to get a $60 piece of content or piece of material is what you're going to get.
Even if you get something great, you're not paying the people what they're worth. I'm not going to go to Dylan and say, Dylan, cut a song for $100 for me. Right? Like that's so insulting to his talent.
That's a hard lesson to learn. And true story, the first album that I ever made for a client, like years and years and years ago, I actually paid $30 to produce that album. Because I charged the client like $200, which was the studio rate that I was working at was $108. I was like, I need a first thing. I'll just break even. And then he's like, oh, but tax. Like,
son of a bitch.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Don't pay me what I'm worth. Pay me more. And this is the problem with worth when it comes to art. If you want me to do a voice, I actually work in the voiceover industry, and I'm willing to voice anything for you. You want a porn voiced? I'll do it.
Do a sex shop voice.
But you have to pay me, and you're not paying me just for my voice. So dude, it's like super simple. You just like turn your mic on and talk into the mic. Okay, well, there's an acting portion involved, which I've learned how to act. I've got a bunch of gear that costs a lot more than $30.
Yeah.
And just my microphone alone. Like
there's a facilities fee integrated in there. There's a rental fee integrated in there for the equipment. There's a lot of things to consider.
But it's also the time I've spent crafting my ability to be able to do your spot for you. So if I've spent 10 years in this industry.
Remember, Aiden, you should do it because you should just do it for the exposure.
Yeah, well, I'll show you exposure. Acting in porn. Hey, you know what? Acting in porn is the thing. Maitland Ward, look her up. She was the redhead from Boy Meets World. And she is now a porn star.
Nice.
And yeah, I suppose someone has to. Well, no, but I've actually done some, not porn per se, but I did a
Erotica.
novel that I voiced, and I still make money on it.
Oh,
every
I
month.
still have clips from that. I still listen to it just
Shut
for the lulls.
up. Please tell me that you're doing just lulls when you listen to that.
Oh, literally just
I
lulls.
hope my voice does
Literally.
not tweak anything on you, my friend, at all.
No.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Oh, yeah,
Now that said, I'm sure there are some people that get their jocks,
That's cool.
their jollies.
Like I said, if you want to hire me to be a voice for anything, whether it's an intro for your podcast or whatever, the website's coming where you can sign up for that kind of stuff. And she does look great for 40. Yes, she does. I do follow her on most platforms. Just saying. Gay erotica.
Just for
you know what?
for educational purposes.
If someone's willing to pay me money to do erotica of any sort, I like money.
Hey, you should start up an OnlyFans. You know those models make a killing.
One of my good friends, her name Brittany Babbles. You can find her.
That's a great name.
Babbles. She used to be an on-air host for one of the top Toronto stations called Hits FM. And she was let go, so she started an OnlyFans where she was doing some pictures where you could pay for nudes and stuff. But then she got into the audio portion of it, and she called me and she's like, "What do you think of this?" And it was basically her getting off, and I'm like, well, that's cool, you could use some work on your audio capture. And I gave her some ideas for some mics and how to capture certain audio, because there's certain sounds that you get with that kind of stuff. And she thanked me. She did it. She brought it back, and I said, "That's awesome. That's actually fantastic." And she's like, "Why don't you do it?" I'm like, "I never thought I could do audio." And she's like,
right. That's the thing that
set up an OnlyFans and just record audio of you telling erotic stories, and gay erotica sells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really have the time right now, but like, what are we talking for paycheck? Like, some of these people are like making 10G a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, so.
Or more.
Yeah.
Or more.
I mean,
was the one gal, there was a story who sold her bathwater or something?
That was a Twitch streamer. Yeah.
That was also an OnlyFans thing. That was through an OnlyFans. Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Big thing.
I'm willing to sell my bathwater. Do we have any priors on here that are willing to pick up my bathwater? I can promise you one thing: you won't be able to see through it. It won't be the clearest bathwater you can get.
Just the shipping. Like, are we talking a whole bath, or like are we going to segment
No, it's just
it
like
into
a
50?
little. It's like a little vat of. You could probably get it, put it into a necklace. Belle Delphine, yeah, Belle Delphine.
Yes, yeah. That's it.
I can't even tell you what she looks like, but I do know she's got the typical Twitch streamer style look vibe. Yep. And once again, my bathwater is for sale.
Really appeals to the anime enthusiasts, I think.
That's the one thing that I think that's the one part of the industry that will always be closed off to me, is the used underwear and bathwater end of porn.
This is taking quite the turn.
Got me used undies, you want them?
Yeah, got me used, I want them.
She's South African. I didn't know Belle Delphine was South African.
That's cool. Interesting.
Well, South African. They have a cornucopia. Actually, my sister-in-law lives there with her husband.
Nice.
Oh, wait, no, she just lives there now. Long story. Anyways, hopefully she's not watching.
Burn.
Not my fault. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Thanks for playing along. If I didn't get to any of your questions, once again, everyone, if you want, you can always message me on a video. I do still try to answer every comment, which can be exhausting some days. But hit me up on any of the videos. Always here for a chat. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next Friday. And this live stream went straight down the old pooper.
Yep.
Quite literally, in fact.
Quite literally.
All right, guys, have a great week. We'll